Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a full overview on the Gamma Vocal Suite, breaking down each module and exactly what they do. And then I'll go over a real example of how I'd use this plugin in a mix. So let's begin. Alright, so let's go ahead and start with the top bar. Up here, you can click on our logo to see if your license is registered. You can find out information about that. You can go to our website and you can see exactly which plugin version you're on so you can stay up to date with everything. Next to that, you have where you can find all of your presets. We have factory preset settings and you can save your own presets and load them up here. And moving over to the right, you can see your whole entire signal chain of the plugin. These are grayed out right now because we do not have any of the modules activated. We'll get to that later, but this essentially allows you to put stuff in order the way that you would like it to be, meaning EQ before compression, EQ after compression, or maybe you want compression and saturation before EQ. You can do all of this up here in this plugin. Moving over to the right, you have your manual input and output settings so you can gain stage everything properly. You can make a vocal hit the input of the plugin more, and then you can back off the output. This is pretty much just a level match. Also on the top bar, if you click the word Gamma, you can resize the plugin UI. All right, so first let's start at the compression module. You can click this button right here to activate it. We have a auto gain, so whenever you're feeding a signal into this, no matter how hard you're hitting the compressor, this auto gain will compensate for that level difference, so you don't have to worry about being tricked by any jumps in volume. If you look next to the auto gain, you'll see this lo-fi button. You can activate this to give it that classic telephone effect. We have our total harmonic distortion knob, so you can drive some saturation into this. Right next to this, we have our soft and hard settings. Now, the difference between these two is just how aggressive the compressor reacts and how hard the knee is. Typically, I like to leave this on soft for singing vocals, and I will use the hard setting for screams. And you can also adjust how much compression you're doing in parallel with this mix knob, which is very handy. And then if you do not have the auto gain function engaged, you can use this makeup gain knob to, kind of gain stage the volume that you lost, or, dial it back if the compressor is adding volume. All right, moving on to the EQ section. You can see here that you have 4 EQ bands, and each time that you click on one, you have several options to choose from over here, including 3 analog modeled EQ curves. This allows you to really dial your vocals into the mix and get the sound that you want. If you click on a band, you can also adjust how wide and narrow you want your bells to be and how aggressive you want your high pass and low pass filters to be, like such. It's pretty self-explanatory. All right, moving on to the saturation module. This one is really cool because you can dial in between 3 different types of saturation. You have tube, tape, and transformer. So you can have something more rounded off, or you can have something that's a lot more aggressive. And no matter how aggressive you dial this thing, we have included a mix slider at the bottom, so you can also dial the mix back in parallel. You'll notice that almost a lot of the stuff we do in this plugin has the user in mind. We have given you unlimited options to mess around with, so you don't ever feel like you have to be tied down to one thing or over heavily committed to the other. And let me give you an example of how this saturation sounds whenever you really slam it, and then how you can dial it back using the mix slider. In the night, I can feel you here. We'll go all the way. In the night, I can feel. But then even if you back the mix up a good bit, it's still just a subtle effect. In the night, I can feel you here. So you really do have full control of everything that you're doing with Gamma Vocal Suite at all times. Moving on to the width module, this uses stereo widening with 3 different pitch shift and delay modes to give you ultimate flexibility, whether you're using this for a lead vocal or for background vocals to fit them inside of a mix better. And as you can tell at the bottom of this, we also have a filter slider. This comes in handy to keep your low end in check. The last thing you want to do is stack this on, 4 to 6 different vocals and just have the low end kind of bloating everything up. So definitely use this to take more control of your vocals and really dial in this effect the way that you want to. Remember, a little goes a long way with this module, so be careful to avoid any phasing issues. Moving on to the reverb and delay modules, we're going to look at these at the same time because there's quite a lot here to talk about. Alright, so unlike some other offerings, our reverb and delay modules are intended for you to be able to blend short and long reverbs together as well as short and long delays together. I've found whenever I am mixing records, I like to have ultimate control over my reverb and delay. I can automate my long reverbs for more dramatic effects. I can tuck them back behind the mix. So this plugin gives you those options all in one. So as you can see, we have Reverb A and Reverb B. They both have size, so you can choose how long and short you want your reverb. Now we have a pre-delay knob for each, which tells the plugin wait this amount of time before you kick the reverb in. And each of these have their own mix knobs, and you can even make your reverbs mono. We also have this throw button on both modules, which pretty much takes the dry signal completely out and makes it 100% wet. So you can throw up some vocal throws on a separate channel. You can get some really extreme effects using this, so use this with a grain of salt. Under this, we have a ducking knob, and what the ducking knob will do will allow you to activate a sidechain compressor that will compress the delay or the reverb whenever the main vocal is present. This can allow your delay or reverb to be louder overall without taking over the main vocal. Going on to the delay, you'll see similar settings. You can choose how short and long your delay will be between delay A and delay B, and you can blend them in together. You can also go up here to mode. Right now this is in stereo, but you can throw it to ping pong and mono delay if you so wish to. We have the same ducking knob function under here, and we also have a link mode. So you do something to delay A, it will also apply it to delay B. Now, both modules also have this EQ tab. And for the reverb, you can filter out low and high. So you can kind of pre-carve your reverb and pre-EQ it the way that you would want it to be. If you apply too much reverb without cutting out the lows, it makes the vocals super muddy. So this is very handy. Same thing with delay. There's a tilt EQ, so you want a darker delay or a brighter sounding delay. We got you covered there. And you can also just go ahead and lo-fi your delay, kind of like it's very similar to what I was talking about with the compression module whenever we first started this video. It's a very cool effect. Experiment around with it. Going to the de-esser module, the de-esser is exactly what it sounds like. This will take care of any unruly sibilants in your vocals. You can dial up the reduction knob and hunt for any S's with the frequency slider until they're not a problem anymore. The frequency slider goes all the way up to 16K and all the way down to 1K. Moving on to the doubler is another module that does exactly what it says. It doubles your vocals. The sliders and the orange puck in the middle are used to dial in the number of times the voice is doubled, as well as the stereo width of the doubler. Like the width module, a little goes a long way, and I'll give you that example here in just a bit. And also to note on the doubler, you can again filter out the lows all the way up to 20K, which you'd never really need to do. And we also have a mix slider down here, so you can dial in this effect no matter how extreme you make it. Finally, moving on to the limiter module. This adds a hard ceiling to the dynamics of your signal, so you can pin your vocals in place within the context of your song. Now that I've given you an overview on Gamma, I'm going to pull this up on this chorus. The song is called The Noise by Morning Eve. There's a band I mixed not too long ago. In this chorus specifically, it's a female and male voice playing back and forth, so it'll be cool to see how Gamma interacts with both of those and exactly how you can dial it in and gain stage it to make it sit in the song. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, I just pulled up Gamma on default, and we're going to play through this chorus and see how this sounds just whenever you first load up the plugin. Now you'll notice I'm leaving the compressor on soft. Like I said, I like that whenever we're doing singing vocals. And also I do believe that these vocals were tracked on the way in through an 1176, so we don't want to slam them and pin them down way too hard. But let's hear how this sounds. Now you can tell all I had to do for the male vocals was to just pull the output of gamma up a little bit, but let's solo one of these and kind of go through a little bit of effects, really making them dramatic and pulling them back, just so you can hear exactly what the plugin does. This already sounds great on default. I know it sounds kind of cliche, but I probably wouldn't touch this too much, but we're gonna mess around with it anyway. So I'll take this back to 100%, and I will single out her vocals, and we'll just mess with it. In the noise, I can feel you here. Let's give this reverb some more size. In the noise, I can feel you here. So you can tell whenever I'm turning the mix knobs up on the reverb and delay, it really processes that signal so you can have a lot of fun with it. Listen to what happens whenever I turn that throw on, like I mentioned earlier, though, on both of them. You can have a lot of fun with that. If you were to copy and paste that track and only have those effects on that track, you can do a lot of cool throws with that. Let's go ahead and turn the doubler all the way up. Turn these off so you can hear what the doubler is doing without the width. In the noise, I can feel you here. You can tell whenever it's all the way up at 100% mix. In the noise, I can feel you here. And then whenever we bring it down and just, turn it pretty much all the way off. In the noise, I can feel you here. It's like I told you earlier in the video, a little goes a long way with that, but it is a super nice effect to be able to dial in. As you can see, the plugin loads up by default with compression going into saturation, going into EQ, the widener, and then the limiter. For me personally, I like putting all of my effects, such as the width, the doubler, the de-esser, the delay, and the reverb after the limiter. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want any of those effects being over exaggerated. I want everything to have its own space and place in the mix. So let's go ahead and see how this sounds with what we have right now. Sounds pretty good. We hope you found this overview of Gamma helpful and that you can kind of start imagining exactly what all you can do with this plugin. If you liked this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments and we'll be sure to answer them. Thanks for watching and happy songwriting.